It's either practice to take lives and then practice saving lives.
So today I want to talk about pre-production, how to plan your film, how to make it the best thing possible before you ever go to camera. I'm going to talk about 3 layers of pre-production, that's words, images, and audio, and how I go through those steps to create my final films. And I'm going to be focusing on Kill or Be Killed, our latest short documentary that might be released by the time this video is out or might still be not, but I'll put a link in the description if it's available, but you're gonna be seeing a lot of it from today. It's something we did recently. Oh, and by the way, my film, 58 Hours for CNN that I got to direct. So excited about this film. We finally have an air date. It's July 31st on CNN. We'll be premiering in the evening. I don't have the exact times right now, but go check the TV guide. But July 31st, I'll be leaving more details below, but the more people who watch it on TV, the more chance it'll get to be streamed around the world. So appreciate you guys tuning in to watch that. I've always typically done my pre-production through Keynote. It's just how I've traditionally done it. I'm a commercial director by trade. Now I'm a documentary director, and that's kind of what I focus on fully. But back in the commercial days, I used to have to do treatments. And if you're wondering what a treatment is, you might have heard of a deck or a creative brief, or it's just essentially a booklet, or a PDF rather, of images and descriptions of how you're gonna go about your film. It's the director's vision as well as a whole lot of other stuff, as well as visual references. And I've always done these in Keynote. I've enjoyed them. You can see here, this is the one I did for the Harm music video. You can always see the influence and the vibe that comes from the original deck to the final project. We talked about in this deck using projectors and using broken mirrors and glass, and you can kind of see a lot of these influences. Your deck or your treatment is kind of the guide to your final film. Why it's important to be able to create good pre-production is you want to get your whole crew on board with the direction you're going with your film. If all the ideas are just in your head, when everyone gets to set, they're not going to know what they're doing, and you're going to spend a lot of time explaining stuff that no one really understands. Here's another deck we did for the Deli Car project. Can't show you too much of it. This is one of my favorite projects I've ever got to do in a commercial capacity. I love this shot of this hand. That definitely made it into the final film. And you might be asking where I get these images. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's jump in. So just jumping over here to my Milanote project. I have a couple jobs right here. Here is Kill or Be Killed. This is what my final Milanote project looks like. And why I've kind of switched over to Milanote is it's all online. Everything exists on the server, on the browser, and it's a lot easier to share, because when I used to do Keynote, it got really annoying because you would export out PDFs and it'd be 100 megabytes, and then you have to go to Adobe Acrobat and crunch it. I love Adobe, love their software, hate Acrobat. But I really like Milanote because it can keep all of my ideas, all of the reference images that I haven't used yet in one place that other people on my team can see, but ultimately that I can see, and I can jump back into it. And I don't have to worry about versioning, exporting out, compressing, emailing, uploading. It's just in one place. Saves you some hard drive space as well. But speaking about those 3 layers of pre-production, like I said, words, visuals, and images. The first thing I do with my job is I begin writing. I'll sometimes go to the music first or go watch some other films that influencing. It's why I have a link here that I grabbed for Out of the Furnace. It's a great film because it's in a small town and it's about MMA fighters, and the film we made, Kill or Be Killed, is about a small town here in Canada and about an MMA fighter. So I put that trailer in there because I love the tone and the texture from that film, and it influenced a bit of what we shot. But why do I start with words? Well, first off, I do a bit of research. I start looking at the person, the character. I went to Joel's Instagram, and me and Mike, the co-director, we went and watched a bunch of MMA fights and began understanding that world. And this is where I just begin writing stuff down. Like right here, I have this bare knuckle sequence. I was thinking that, you know, we could start in the woods in the morning, and that we would see him punching a punching bag in the forest in the tree. We never ended up doing that, but it got my brain thinking and put me in his world. And this is where I begin writing down quotes too. And why you want to write down quotes that your character might say is they're going to help inform the questions you're going to ask. Now, you might be thinking, Mark, you're doing a documentary. Why would you write what the person's going to say? They are a human. They're going to say whatever they want. You're right. But I write down a script. I even write down the dialogue that I think the person might be saying, so that it informs how I'm going to ask the questions in my interview, and it's really helpful then to actually have a guide. I look at the initial scripting, the initial ideas that I write down, like these little small quotes here, like my body's a tool for hope, not for destruction. Joel ended up saying something very similar to that. He said he used to use his body as a tool for taking lives, but now he uses it for saving lives. And so we kind of asked him some questions that would inform that, but he said it in a way better way than we could ever think of.
It's either practice to take lives and then practice saving lives.
I kind of see like the initial script is just a bit of the wind in your sails. It makes your ship leave port. Doesn't mean that you're going to end up somewhere that you predetermined. It gives you some momentum. Then comes the next thing, which is visuals. And for me, all of my films, if you've seen any of them, they are all very visually driven. The lighting is so important to me. The lensing is important. The time of day that I shoot. For me, the visuals are a character in the film. And that's where I'll go use websites like Film Grab or Vimeo, but my favorite one by far is Shot Deck. It's a collection of all the best films out there. And it gives you kind of, not even just the best shots, but almost all of the story here. Ooh, there's some violence. But it gives you kind of the general idea of the film, and you can begin grabbing stuff like this shot right here. I love the lighting on this. What's cool with Shot Deck too is it gives you a full res of this. It's not like Google Images where you're getting like 100 pixels by 100 pixels. You know, I might just save this because I really like that green fluorescent lighting that they have going on in the background. Let me just save that to downloads. And what I can do with these images then too is I'll put them in my all references image board here. I have a bunch of images going, and I can just drag these images that I just saved right in here. I could create a new column and just add a bunch of images here into this lighting references catalog. You can see this shot right here. I like the idea of him waking up in bed, and you can see in the final film, I actually think I have it right here. Yeah, this shot of Joel in the morning, kind of influenced from that shot. So when I began grabbing the images, I went on to Vimeo, like I said, and Shot Deck, and you can see here's my whole inspo catalog. These are all these different looks and feel. This is that scene I was talking about at the beginning that I was saying he would be in the forest in the morning. Here's this cool shot. This is a shot, I really like this one, and I actually ended up getting it. It didn't make it into the final film, but I love the hands on the steering wheel. So when Joel was driving the one day, we got up close on his hands while he was driving. It's just a really energetic vibe. Or like this shot here, I forget what film this is from, but I got this from Film Grab, and it influenced a little opening sequence where Joel came through the door in the morning. And I think I actually left it here for Lewis. Yeah, I left a comment, or I was supposed to leave a comment to say maybe the opening shot. But this is that same kind of influence there where you have a silhouette through a beam of light. This is Joel coming to his gym in the morning. I love going through other films and other people's work and begin getting inspired about the ways that I can apply some other stuff that other people have done. You can borrow from other people's work. It's not that you're copying, it's that you're allowing yourself to be inspired to go add your own style, your own influence. It's a great way too, so that everyone else around you knows what you're trying to achieve. This shot here definitely influenced the scenes where Joel was in the room. And what's great about this is I kind of know what it's going to look like ahead of time, and I showed it to Michael, the co-director, so he understood what I was trying to achieve. And this is where we had Joel in the gym, and there's red and blue lights all around him, and he's boxing. And why we did that is we couldn't get to an actual fire call with him because we only had 2 days to shoot with Joel. That's why our pre-production was so important. So we shot in the gym to make it look kind of like the police sirens or the fire department sirens, to emulate that idea that, you know, Joel is ready to help save lives as a firefighter. I should mention that too. That's the premise. Joel used to be an MMA fighter, spent his time trying to hurt people inside a cage. He's a nice guy, but that's what your job is when you're an MMA fighter. And now that he's retiring, he's trying to use this body that he's created to help save lives. He's a volunteer firefighter. He's a mine rescue worker. It's pretty incredible what he's doing now with this tool, as he calls it. This athletic frame that he has, he's now using to pull people out of burning buildings.
Who's gonna sign up to go deal with a motor vehicle accident? It's gotta flip over a car, who's gotta run into a burning house? Who's gonna do it? Who's mentally capable, and then who's physically capable?
Just to show you quickly what's great with Milano, I could take all of these images and I could just drop them into a new board. I'm just gonna create a new board here. So let me just drop these all in here, and then Milano will automatically begin to populate them so that they kind of build this beautiful frame, and you can quickly look at this for inspiration. And what's great too with Milanote is because it's on the desktop, I can also access it on my phone. And sometimes when I'm on set, I'll pull up my reference images on my phone to try to get some more inspiration in the morning. I do all of this pre-production up front, and then I usually don't look at it much once I'm on set. I use it leading up to that moment, because once I get to a location, I let that actual location speak to me and it begins to inspire me. But if I haven't been looking at stuff earlier that was inspiring, I find I get in there and I don't know what I'm exactly looking for. This whole reference board here gives me kind of an incentive, a direction to go. And that's where like a shot like this one right here of the head poking out of the water, we ended up getting that in the film. Where's Joel kind of looking like a Navy SEAL popping out of the blue water here. This shot here, I began thinking, I was like, yeah, we should go get him down in the water. It wasn't that I went down and tried to shoot this shot for shot. It's that we began shooting and finding kind of some creative moments with just Joel and I down there in the water. And it was super cool. And the water looked like it was the Caribbean, even though it was just a lake up here in Canada. What's cool too is when you open up a new board, there's options for templates. Some of the templates are actually kind of cool. I would never come up with this on my own, but we're going to use this. And now what Milanote does is just let you choose what you want to add into it. So this is my original inspiration folder here in the project. We have some options here. I'm actually going to pull in the red face shot here. We'll drop it in here. And then there was another shot here. I really like this silhouette. The person's running, but I like the idea of introing Joel. And I'll show you where this shot actually inspired me to get this, where Joel opens up the door and we just see his silhouette. You have him coming through the sliver of light, very similar to this shot here. And then this red lighting with the blue background, I didn't necessarily want to emulate this entire shot because this was kind of a different mood and scene, but Joel is a rescue worker and we couldn't always necessarily be with him at the accidents. So we got creative here and we just shot with our nan light tubes. There's the red light coming in, I'm nice and soft focus. Kidding, I wish I was in focus. I think I redo it. Yeah, there you go. That's nice and focused, or a little bit more focused. But we did a lot of stuff like this where we had him boxing in all of this light. We have our words here, we begin having our images, and now music. Sometimes this is where I begin with my films because I find music is such a heavy influence in my film. It doesn't necessarily matter that you have to go in that order, but that's typically where I do go, because one of the first steps that I do in editing is that I lay music down and begin putting the images over top of that. So if I can get ahead of that when I'm in the pre-production, it helps me starting to know what my edit might begin to feel and look like. So I go to Music Bed or Epidemic Sound and I'll begin pulling playlists. So right here I have this playlist from Music Bed that are just a couple tracks of kind of the influence that I want to hear the film with. Sorry, I'm just imagining a scene with Joel in it. And to create a link like this, it's super simple in Milanote. I just drag the link down here and copy it down. Milanote will populate it with an image right there. So I might even drop this one down because this Beauty in the Battle film, as you've heard me speak about a million times on this channel, it was athletics, which Joel's film was as well. So they have a similar influence in that way. So there you go. Once I have my words, my images, my music, and I have my team had their influence and collaboration on that, begin writing myself some notes like right here. I have get the wides, show the details. This is always so important when you're shooting doc, that you're making sure you get the wides because that helps you establish scenes, but then getting the details tells the smaller story. You don't only ever want to shoot shots of your main characters, you want to get the details in the world around them. And so the final step here is the shot list. After I've gathered up all the images and music, I kind of know exactly what I want to shoot and what scenes we're going to have based on my dialogue and my script over here. And that's when I'll finally do my shot list, because then I find my shot list is the most certain to what I actually need. It's not just random stuff that I thought would be cool. It's actually going to have purpose because I know what I'm going for in terms of the inspiration of the lighting and the aesthetic, with even the mood that I'm trying to create, like these early mornings. This is where, coming through all these images, I came up with this idea of shooting mirrors. This was one idea in the Killer Be Killed film where I wanted to show that Joel doesn't create his muscles for mirrors. He actually, I don't even know if he really has a mirror besides his bathroom in his house. He creates his muscles to help people now at this stage. So I went onto Shot Deck and I found all sorts of shots where there was people looking past mirrors. And this is kind of what you see in the film in this one scene where Joel's waking up in the morning. He does his protein shake and he's looking out the window and there's a mirror right there, but he's not looking at it. And so there you go, guys. I highly recommend checking out Milanote. It's been super helpful for me and my team. You can even see here on another film I'm working on about autism spectrum disorder. I created this whole deck here for the interviews that we wanted to do, and I was able to communicate that to my producers saying, hey, let's get into a nice big white open space studio. Here's what our A camera is gonna look like. We wanna have shots where people are staring directly at the camera. You call that Interatron. And then here's the B camera. This is the classic Mark Bone interview style shot. A lot of other people do it, but you'll know in all my films, I always have a 3/4 angle that's highly backlit, very moody from the side to achieve that interview vibe for my films. And so I put this in here, and so my DP can know what we're going for, what kind of space we're looking for my producers. And I even, for my DP, Christopher Mikey, he's awesome, I went and grabbed a bunch of images from one of his latest films and put them all here on Milanote and shared it to him so he could know what I'm looking for. And he knows he can achieve that because it's his work. He has some beautiful work here. He did this amazing film called Giants of Africa, and I just loved the aesthetic and the mood he created in those films. Where's some more stuff from Giants here? Oh yeah, there's another shot. Like, I love silhouette, I love moody lighting, as you know, and so it's great to know that when you're collaborating with people, they can achieve that. And so I put it all here just to give him an idea, sent him a link to that. And if I wanted to share it with him, I just come up to editor and I can invite him via email or just give him a shareable link like that and then send it over to him, and he knows what I want, which is great. It's easy to show people rather than have to tell people. Even with your films, it's always better to show them in the film what you're trying to do rather than telling people. It makes for a much more interesting film. Film is a visual medium, so I think your pre-production should also be visual. So there you go, guys. Appreciate you watching this. I'll put a link below for Milanote so you can go check it out and see if it works for your workflow. And make sure to go check out 58 Hours, my CNN film that I got to direct. So many amazing people worked on that, so thank you for everyone who helped out. And I'll see you guys on the next one.